I'm David Tilman, a professor in the Bren School at UC Santa Barbara. And I want to discuss today an article that recently came out in the New York Times on biofuels and what the best way is to make biofuels. There's an argument going on, and the argument is whether we could reduce greenhouse gases the most by basically cutting down the forests of the world and using that biomass to make biofuels, or if doing that actually wouldn't give us any greenhouse gas advantage at all. The work I've done in this leads me to conclude that biofuels rarely give us a meaningful greenhouse gas reduction. There are a couple problems with biofuels. First, biofuels have to have land that produces them. That same land is often the land that makes our food. So our current biofuels, ethanol from corn, biodiesel from soybeans or from palm nut oil, basically represent us taking food away from people. Well, people need food, and so when we take away that food, someone has to grow more crops someplace. It often means they have to clear land to grow that crops, and when you clear land, you release massive amounts of greenhouse gases. Biomass is mainly made out of carbon, and when that land is cleared, most of the carbon in that biomass ends up going into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas. Now, the second big issue is that if you do what is proposed by some people, which is clearing forests to make biofuels, you only capture about a third of the energy in that biomass and a third of that carbon in the biofuel itself. The other 2/3 ends up going into the atmosphere as more greenhouse gas. And when you run all the numbers, if a biofuel has any greenhouse gas advantage at all, it doesn't normally happen until after 100 or more years of harvesting and growing and making the biofuel and growing a new crop. So I conclude biofuels are not a very good way to reduce greenhouse gases, and they have lots of other detrimental impacts. But we do know things that do reduce greenhouse gases, so I'll mention them. Maybe you know them already, but being more efficient. Energy efficiency is massively important. Energy efficiency in buildings, having appliances that are more energy efficient, better insulation on the buildings, energy efficiency in transportation, automobiles, and whole networks of transportation that are more efficient. These matter. On the biomass side, the most important thing we can do for greenhouse gases is not clear land. That is one of the biggest releases of greenhouse gases on Earth, and we shouldn't be doing that. And finally, we can do things like change our diet. Diets release twice as much greenhouse gas as all the cars and airplanes on the Earth do. So instead of worrying about biofuels, we'd be better off worrying about our diets. Getting rid of beef in the diet, which causes large greenhouse gases, and replacing it with a vegetable substitute or even with chicken is a big improvement. And going to the lands of the poor nations of the world where there are very low crop yields and helping them have higher yields can let them not have to clear more land and release greenhouse gases from that. So there are real solutions to the greenhouse gas issue, but biofuels is unlikely to be one of them.